Hello Grizzlies, my name is Alexis Iffert. I'm the Director of Student Integrity. I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about your student rights and responsibilities. Let's get started. Standards for Georgia Gwinnett College students are higher than those of communities not engaged solely in scholarly pursuits. Upon accepting enrollment, GGC students acquire rights in, as well as responsibilities to, the Georgia Gwinnett College community. These rights and responsibilities, embraced by the GGC community in the spirit of the institution's mission, are considered critical to producing graduates inspired to contribute to local, state, national, and international communities, and graduates who are prepared to anticipate and respond to an uncertain and changing world. Before we discuss your rights as a student at GGC, I'd like to address your responsibilities to the community. The Office of Student Integrity is responsible for managing the GGC Student Code of Conduct. You can find the full Student Code of Conduct in the GGC Student Handbook. In a nutshell, the Code of Conduct is a set of rules and regulations that all students must follow. When you read the Code of Conduct, you will also find an overview of the student integrity process. As mentioned earlier, all students are afforded rights at GGC. One of these rights is the right to due process, meaning that a student who is accused of violating a policy will be given the opportunity to be heard before a decision is made in his or her case. Again, this is known as the student integrity process. The Office of Student Integrity receives a report when students allegedly violate Code of Conduct policies. Once a report is received, my office will send a charge letter to the student who allegedly violated a policy, requiring him or her to schedule a meeting with my office. When the student meets with a staff member in my office, he or she will have the opportunity to review the report and any additional information in his or her file. Through the course of the hearing, the student will be given the opportunity to explain his or her side of what happened, share other evidence, and question any witnesses. Once the hearing concludes, the hearing officer will determine if the student is responsible or not responsible for the violation. If the student is found responsible, the hearing officer will also determine sanctions. It is important to note that all correspondence from the Office of Student Integrity will be sent to the student's GGC email address. You need to check your GGC email account at least once per day. If you do not read your email and you miss your hearing, a decision will be made in your absence. One of the very first things you will see in the Student Code of Conduct is the GGC Honor Statement, which very simply states, "We will not lie, steal, or cheat, nor tolerate the actions of those who do." We must hold each other accountable for following this principle. As I mentioned before, students who are found responsible of violating the Code of Conduct will be issued sanctions as a result of the hearing process. Some of the most serious sanctions that could result are expulsion and suspension. An expulsion is a permanent removal from GGC. If a student is suspended, he or she is also removed from GGC, but it is a temporary removal. He or she will be able to reapply or re-enroll after the suspension period concludes. Now let's watch some scenarios to see what might constitute a violation of the Student Code of Conduct.
Polly Paper Writer has just begun her English paper, and she's discovered a handy new website.
Wikipedia? Oh my goodness, that's awesome!
Polly's decided to copy and paste from the website onto her paper.
I'll just make a couple of changes and voila, my paper is done in less than 10 minutes.
Polly failed to use any quotation marks or references in her paper. Is this a violation? Duh, yes. This is a clear example of plagiarism. Anytime Polly uses an outside source for her paper, she must use the proper citation. Don't fall into this trap. If you're unsure on how to cite something properly, ask your professor or get help from the tutor in the Academic Enhancement Center. Let's move on to the second scenario. Polly Paper Writer is at it again. This time she's writing a paper for her history course. But she cited everything this time, so that's good. But now she's asked a friend to review her paper.
Hey Carly, would you mind looking over my history paper? I could really use some feedback before I send it in.
Sure, I'll be glad to look it over for you. Just send it to me via email.
Unbeknownst to Polly, Carly has no intentions of helping her with her essay. Instead, Carly changes the name at the top of the paper and submits it as her own. Clearly, this is a violation, but who's responsible? Unfortunately for Polly, both students in this case are responsible for the violation. You should never send your assignments to any other student. If you need help with a paper, ask your professor or a tutor. Don't put yourself in this position, giving someone an easy opportunity to take advantage of you. Now let's take a look at a different scenario.
Connie Cocktail has a beer in the trunk of her car, which is parked on campus. Connie's 21. Is she in violation of the code of conduct? Yes. This example might seem tricky because Connie's old enough in the state of Georgia to drink alcohol. However, GGC is a dry campus, meaning that regardless of how old a student might be, he or she is not permitted to have alcohol on campus. Whether you're 21, 18, 34, or 97, you can't have alcohol anywhere on campus. Not in your car, not in your residence hall room, or in your bag, or even in your stomach. Students who come to campus under the influence are also in violation of the code of conduct, especially if they start acting a fool. We have one more scenario for you to consider.
I can't believe you stole my paper. What kind of person are you?
I wouldn't steal your crappy paper anyways.
Can't believe you got me in trouble.
What? Sally just decked that fellow classmate. Clearly, this is a violation. Violence and physical harm are not tolerated at GGC. Do as you learned back in kindergarten and keep your hands to yourself. Students who engage in physical fights are often arrested on the spot, taken to jail, and often suspended from school. Don't let this be you.
There are many different regulations outlined in detail in the Student Code of Conduct. Be sure to read the code thoroughly. As you've already learned, GGC is a dry campus and alcohol is not allowed. Additionally, illegal drugs are not permitted per our Code of Conduct policies. This includes possession of any type of drug paraphernalia, including but not limited to bongs, pipes, and hookahs. It is important to note, however, that prescription drugs are permitted on our campus as long as you are the owner of the prescription for the drugs. You should never give your prescription drugs to any other person, nor should you take prescription drugs from someone else. Another policy I would like to quickly highlight is the weapons policy. To help ensure campus safety, weapons are not permitted on campus. There are very few exceptions to this rule. Georgia state law does allow licensed gun owners to bring firearms on college campuses, but they must leave such firearms in their vehicle at all times. If you have a license to carry a firearm in the state of Georgia and plan to keep your firearm in your vehicle on our campus, you are required to register that firearm with our campus police department. You will be asked to do this when you register your vehicle and receive your parking permit for campus. Outside of this state law, weapons are strictly prohibited on campus. So please leave your samurai swords, throwing stars, nunchucks, machetes, and any other weapons at home. If you are wondering about pocket knives, they are permitted on campus as long as the blade is less than 2 inches long. If the blade is 2 inches or longer, it is not permitted. As you might have guessed, we also have policies and procedures specific to our residence halls. If you are planning on living on campus, please read these policies to ensure that you are compliant with our expectations. These policies can be found on the GGC website. You will also be given a copy of the policies when you move into the residence halls. Please also keep in mind that even if you do not live in the residence halls, you are responsible for knowing and abiding by these policies anytime you visit the halls, whether for class or social reasons. So, really everyone should be reading these policies. Students will often ask us, "Are you planning on telling my parents that I got in trouble?" Usually, the answer is no. However, if you are under the age of 21 and violate our alcohol and other drug policies, we will likely notify your parents of that violation. All other records are protected by the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, meaning that we will not disclose any other violations unless you sign a waiver giving your parents or guardians access to your records. As you can see, anyone can file a report to the Office of Student Integrity. Campus safety and security is a shared responsibility. You all are the eyes and ears of the campus. Please file reports with my office or the police department if you witness a violation. For example, if you see someone break into a car, call the police. If you see someone cheating on an exam, tell your professor. If someone is just acting sketchy and creeping you out, let us know. Maybe that person isn't supposed to be on our campus. We may never know unless you file a report. The student integrity process is not a legal process. There may be times where a student is arrested or given a citation from our police officers. These students will need to resolve their criminal charges through the court process. They will also be charged with violating the Student Code of Conduct and participate in the student integrity process. These procedures are separate of each other. As I stated earlier in the presentation, all students are afforded certain rights at GGC. These rights are also found in the GGC Student Handbook. Please review them to ensure that you know what you can expect as a student here. In the event that any of your student rights are violated, you are encouraged to follow the student complaints process, which is also outlined in the Student Handbook. Should you disagree with the decision that is made during your time at GGC, you should first try to resolve the issue by speaking with the individual who made the decision. If a resolution cannot be reached through that conversation, you should file a written complaint online. You will then be contacted via your GGC email account with a decision. You then have the right to appeal this decision. Please refer to the policy with any questions. If you have made it to this point of the video, I think you will do well at GGC. For those of you who are sleeping, I might be seeing you in my office later this year. At any rate, please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions or concerns regarding your rights and responsibilities. The Office of Student Integrity is here to help.